On the 9th of December, 2017, a speedrunner by the name of Ollie Murs completed a phenomenal speedrun of a Flash game called This Is the Only Level with a time of 224.675 in the any%, pauseless, and glitchless category. This Is the Only Level is laid out in 30 stages, each with the same layout but having a different quirk, such as having to mash left and right to move, bouncy floors, a constant force pulling you backward, and much more. Ollie Murs' time came during a long span of competition with a runner named DHA, who had been making large improvements to the world record that year. Most notably, DHA managed to save an entire cycle in stage 25. Essentially, this wall only lowers every 10 seconds of in-game time. Runners had always lost a significant chunk of time save waiting for the 210 cycle, but DHA was able to nail the cycle at 2 minutes flat, saving him almost 10 seconds. This cycle save was extremely clutch and very unexpected to the game's runners at the time, since nobody had really come close to getting it beforehand. More early game strategies were later developed to make saving this cycle much easier, such as holding right and tapping left in the left-right march stage, instead of alternating the key presses, and clipping through the beginning pipes in levels 3, 15, and 24. This pipe clip method could also be used in stages 26 and 27 to save some time in the later levels. Even with these new strategies, only 14 runners have ever achieved this cycle in a run, speaking volumes to the continued difficulty that it imposes. This facet of stage 25 has a very obvious side effect. With all top runners beating stage 25 at the exact same in-game time due to the cycle, the only way to gain and lose time over another player's run is in the last 5 stages. No matter how fast someone plays the first 25 stages, they will never be able to save another cycle, so it will grant no time save. On top of this, the character moves at a completely fixed speed, so the gameplay from top runners in the last 5 stages always looks extremely similar and has very similar times. Despite this, with the game almost at its absolute maximum in terms of time save, Ollie finally managed to take the world record back from DHA with his 224.675, beating his PB by 250 milliseconds and beating DHA's former world record by 150 milliseconds. The description of this run simply read,
"Wasn't expecting a time like that."
Ollie knew that his time was great, but he had no idea what would end up ensuing in the following 3 years.
Fuck yes.
Let's go, dude!
That's right. Since Ollie Murs achieved his 224.675, it has been tied by 4 separate runners to the exact same frame. DHA on May 24th, 2018. Chromo on March 22nd, 2020. Lucky Hamburger on May 6th, 2020. And the 1C on January 7th, 2021. All of these runners entered stage 25 at different times, but it didn't matter. The 10-second cycle at 2 minutes flat had to be waited for, and everyone entered stage 26 on the exact same frame. The videos desync from this point due to lag, but since the game is timed with a 40 FPS in-game timer, this doesn't really matter. The gameplay displayed in all of these runs in the last 5 stages was seemingly perfect. It's hard to tell due to these video recordings happening at either 30 or 60 FPS while the gameplay is happening at 40 FPS, but every in-game timer appears to stay perfectly together on the entrance of every one of the last 5 stages. Yes, all signs point towards 224.675 being an unbeatable time. But that's the thing, there's really no way to know with 100% certainty. The game has no task tools, where a series of programmed inputs can be read instead of human input. And the recording FPS being different from the gameplay FPS still leaves a lot of uncertainty on the table. Maybe there is something, some small detail that everyone is missing. Is the time truly unbeatable? With current known strategies, this is likely the truth. But perhaps a glitch, or even a tiny movement optimization could allow the barrier to be broken. Lots of Flash games have ways of boosting off both the front and back corners of platforms, but due to the simplicity of the game, this kind of exploit doesn't really exist. Besides, the game has a hard cap on the player's movement speed, with acceleration not really existing. For the most part, you are either moving, or you are not. Perhaps, with the right angle, the player could clip through the 2-minute cycle barrier in stage 25 slightly faster than normal, but that avenue also shows little promise. Saving another 10-second cycle in 25, getting through at 1 minute and 50 seconds, is currently far from being possible, and would likely need multiple large breakthroughs in order to become a reality. Stages 26 through 30 require very simplistic movement, where the player either takes the same top route or same bottom route of the stage. The vast majority of the time variance between runs that get the 2-minute cycle comes with how fast the player gets through the gate. The top 2-minute cycle runs make it through on the first possible frame, while the lowest 2-minute cycle runs just barely make it through. The almost universal consensus among the community is that 224.675 is an unbreakable time. Another famous first place tie can be found in the video game Dragster, where 19 different people hold the unbreakable record of 5.57 seconds. However, this time is actually proven to be unbeatable as a result of an extensive reverse engineering project. However, all of these unbreakable ties and reverse engineering efforts fail to consider one crucial piece: the human element. If speedrunners could just have the courage to start their games in second gear. Alright, enough of that. So that's the story of the unbreakable first place tie in the Flash game This Is the Only Level. The 5 runners that have achieved a time of 224.675, Ollie Mures, DHA, Chromo, Lucky Hamburger, and the 1C, have accomplished a truly great feat with their first place speedruns for the any percent pauseless and glitchless category. 88 other runners sit behind them, 9 of whom have completed a run with the 2-minute cycle. But they are the only ones who have managed to push the game to absolute perfection. Every single video game in existence has a hard limit on how fast it can be completed, and humans are usually very far off of these marks. However, for This Is the Only Level, the game that repeats itself 30 times, with each stage having a different twist, that theoretical limit has likely been matched by 5 different sets of human hands. Thanks for watching. If you did end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing or checking out some of the other Flash-related content on my channel. I hope you have a great day.